financial trouble and don't know where to turn? My next guest says consumers should beware. Attorney and financial distress counselor Julianne Frank joins me now to explain. Welcome. Thanks for being here. We're seeing added scrutiny now on these consumer counseling services that say they're not-for-profit, out to help you. You're highly critical of them. Explain what you see in this industry.
Yeah, it's an industry that has proliferated because there is so little regulation in it that they are taking advantage of the unwary consumer. They are using abusive tactics and really extortionist kind of tactics to take advantage of these consumers.
Mm-hmm. Now, they see the commercials. Commercials are everywhere advertising to people who are heavily in debt, whether it be credit cards, what have you. And when they go to these companies, they expect to be dealing with consumer advocates, but oftentimes they're dealing with people that are being bankrolled by the credit card companies themselves.
That's the problem, is that their allegiance is really split at best because they are getting paid by the credit card industry for the amount of money that they're able to collect for them.
Mm-hmm. So give me a typical story of somebody who comes to you looking for help after dealing with a credit counseling service.
Yeah, typically, Lane, they've been involved with one of these companies for maybe a year, maybe 2 years. They've finally taken a look at where they've gotten, and they figured out that they really haven't gotten anywhere. So they've spent all this money, they've tried to climb this uphill battle, and they're no better off than where they started. We see that all the time.
Mm-hmm. Now, many of these credit counselors have nonprofit status, and that leads people to believe that they're there for them as an advocate.
Right. And nonprofit status is really a meaningless kind of situation because anybody can really, if you follow the rules of the IRS, make yourself a nonprofit entity, but they can take out all the money that the officers and directors really want to take within certain limitations. So that is just a sales pitch that they use, and it doesn't take away from the fact that they are basically abusing the consumer.
So if you're a consumer who finds yourself in a difficult situation here and has not gone to any kind of counselor yet, what do you suggest they do? How should they proceed in order to get themselves out of the debt situation?
Well, I'm not saying that they shouldn't ask the right questions before they retain a debt counselor or a credit negotiator, because there are some legitimate companies out there. Mm-hmm. But you need to know what questions to ask. And
let's have a few of them right now.
Sure. First of all, you need to know how it is that they're going to calculate how long it's going to be before you get yourself out of debt. Most of the time, they really aren't in a position to tell you that because they have no way of anticipating where they're going to get the interest rates down to. So they can't amortize in advance. They should ask how many of the creditors are going to be included in the program for sure. They should make sure that the company is actually going to sit down and look at their available resources to decide what means they have and whether they really truly have the ability to pay. And mostly they should disclose what their allegiances are. Are they getting paid by you and the credit card company? If so, they need to tell the consumer that.
Are they forced to do that if you ask, or is it something that they can hide if they choose to?
Well, the problem with the whole industry, Lane, is that it is an unregulated industry. There really is no regulation, at least at a national level. And to my knowledge, the only state that has imposed any state guidelines for the credit counseling industry is the state of Florida, and that's of recent vintage. So that's the problem, is that they're only going to disclose what they really want to disclose.
Do you see the opportunity for advanced or for more litigation when it comes to these credit counselors as well?
Oh, absolutely. We are at this time trying to get a database together of consumers who have been effectively ripped off by some of these companies, and we think that there's a burgeoning class action industry that's going to be created out there, and maybe that will lead to enhanced regulation and oversight of that industry.
Now, one of the headlines we've seen concerning this industry is that one of the largest, Ameridebt, recently filed for bankruptcy.
Yes, and that was after the FTC severely sanctioned them 2 or 3 years ago because they were the ones that were creating the most havoc and the most amount of clamor in the industry.
And do you see this as a problem that there's no signs of slowing at this point?
Until there is regulation, I think you're going to see that there's going to be an ever-increasing trend of people setting up these companies and doing some serious damage to the public sector that's already in financial trouble.
Julianne Frank, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lane.
The author of Freedom from Debt, Taking Control of a Financial Crisis. Plenty still ahead here at Bloomberg Personal Finance. Stay with us. Back after this.